A very warm good evening to all. Today we will have the first topic about the lodging an FIR at the police station. Now, lodging an FIR at the police station is actually very easy job if you know your job properly. Now, how do we lodge an FIR? Now, there are so many aspects the same. So when you go to the police station, it will be inadvisable. You whether you're going on behalf of your clients or you on behalf of your relatives or because of some reason you need you need to make some complaint. In those cases, it's better you go with in writing. The complaint should always be in writing. The one reason that you don't miss out any points. Number two reason, the police officers at the police station will have a clear idea within 5 minutes, because when we talk, we may be talking continuously and the police officer may or may not be able to give attention to our complaint. The reason is they are loaded with lot of work. Now it will be really difficult. But if your complaint is in writing, simply you have to go to dispatch department. They will read it and they will stamp it and give it back to you, and they will say that we will get back to you. Now, once it is a written complaint, either they will convert into the NC complaint, that is a non-cognizable offense. मराठी में त्याला म्हणतात अदखल पात्र गुन्हा. और अगर दखल पात्र है तो they will lodge, that is cognizable offense, they will lodge an FIR and your work will be done. So this is the easiest thing. So whenever is simple advice, never ask your client or yourself to go police station directly. Jot down the point. If you can't type because of some reason, just write down in your handwriting. That is suffice for you to do. And once this is done, an FIR is lodged. But there is a possibility that the police people may not record your complaint. They may just record an NC, and you feel that there is a cognizable offense. The police should have taken the FIR and arrested the accused. Now, in those cases, what you can do, once the police takes down your complaint, if you are not giving an oral, then it will take down the complaint as NC and it is not lodging and as FIR. Then what you can do, you can take that NC number, go to the court, and see, in the court, when you file a complaint, it will be a private complaint. There you have to make a prayer that under 156(3) of CRPC, the court ought to give a direction to the police station to register an FIR, because the offense is cognizable and police is not registering the same. Now, when you tell the court that there is an offense which is committed by the accused party and the police is not taking cognizance of the same, in these kind of matters, what you can do, that when you lodge a complaint at the court, when you file a complaint, that will be treated as a private complaint. You have to argue out your case. Now, here the court will divide into two parts. It may treat as a summons case if it does not give the direction to the police to register an FIR, and if it given direction, that is under section 156(3) of CRPC. Write down this section. Whenever an FIR is lodged by the order of the magistrate court, it is under section 156(3) of CRPC. Now, when it is somebody has given the judgment of the Lalita Kumar in the state of UP, very nice, by Sachin Sarunke. Read this judgment also, it is very useful. The police has to, this judgment says the police has to register the any complaint which comes to it. And if it is cognizable, it is their duty. That is what Lalita Kumari says, that they have to register. Now, in those cases where it is not registered, you go to the court, file a complaint there, and court takes the cognizance of the same and give the direction. Now, when a complaint is registered by the court, it will be MCR, magistrate complaint. It will be MCR, so magistrate crime report. So there is no difference between FIR and MCR. Always remember that is called MCR because the order is from the magistrate court and the police has to register. So this is a simple format to know how to lodge a complaint. Now there are too many things. It may be bailable, non-bailable. It may be cognizable, non-cognizable. So this you have to make out how the material is before you. What is the offense committed by the another opposite party, opponent party. And this is how you can register the complaint with the court as well as with the police. So first you have to go to a police station. But the only thing I would urge all of you, that you should take the complaint in writing. That will save your time. In fact, when you go to the court, court says, did you go to the police station? Did you register your complaint? Did you give them your grievance in writing? That time that dispatch stamp will be with you, and it will be really easy for you to show it to the court that I have already given the complaint. Now, sometime when you go to the police station, we do advise the clients that give to the senior inspector if it is in a metropolitan city. Give it to the senior inspector and mark it to the ACP and DCP. Is it mandatory? Actually, it is not mandatory. So you can mark it to the Prime Minister, Chief Minister, Police Commissioner Office, but it is not mandatory. Who is the in charge of the police station is more important. This is how it is done. So actually, it is very easy to lodging an FIR, but the motion or the way it has to be done, it should be in writing. That is what I wanted to tell all of you. Now, next we go to the reading by the Sampada. Sampada did an interesting part today. Sampada, you can unmute yourself now. I have allowed. Just a minute. Sampada, this is a brief on the can judge sift and weigh the evidence as a stage of framing of charges. For what purpose? Bombay High Court considers while refusing discharge accused. See, we are taking the material for reading, which is actually will help you when you go for trial in the court. Sampada, you can start from here. Unmute yourself, please. You're gone on mute. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Now I can. Bombay High Court. Justice Sandeep K. Shinde dismissed a revision petition filed against the order of the lower court refusing to discharge the accused appellant. Instant application questions the propriety, correctness, and legality of the order by which Sessions Judge CBI Greater Mumbai refused to discharge the appellant from the case registered against him. Central Bureau of Investigation registered FIR under Section 120B, read with Section 420, 465, 467, 468, 471 of the Indian Penal Code 1860 on the basis of written complaint of D.G. Kalati, Deputy General Manager of Central Bank of India, against Ashok Property Developers and Ashish Communication Systems, its directors, guarantors, and 13 others, including 2 bankers and the applicant accused 11. Complainant alleged that the accused entered into a criminal conspiracy in the year 2001 to cheat the Central Bank of India to the tune of rupees 17 crores by creating false and fabricated documents and further dishonestly suppressing material information in respect of immovable properties which were offered as collateral security, either by overvaluation or for availing credit facilities and misutilizing the same. As per the investigation, the applicant had directed Ravi Kumar Bhill to open another account in the name of Hindustan Enterprise in IndusInd Bank. The said amount was used for siphoning the crime proceeds from Ashish Communication Systems to the tune of rupees 80,80,000. The 4 facts which were disclosed were as follows. First, that though crime proceeds were credited in the bank accounts of Ahmedabad State Corporations and Hindustan Enterprise, these accounts were opened and operated by Mr. Bhill, applicant's employee, as per the direction of the applicant. 2. Statement of Ravi Kumar Bhill recorded under Section 169 and 164 of CR Criminal Procedure Code would disclose the said fact. Third, statement of Ganesh Mokal, Assistant Manager of Kotak Mahindra Bank, confirms that money was transferred to the account of Ahmedabad Sales Corporation from the account of Ashish Communication Systems, and that amount of rupees 1,35,25,000 was transferred to the account of Flexo Metal in IDBI Bank, which belongs to the co-accused. Last, fourth, no business transactions were held between Ashish Communication Systems and Ahmedabad Sales Corporation's Hindustan Enterprise. Question: whether the above stated were grounds for proceeding against the applicant accused. Settled law. The judge, while considering the question of framing charges under Section 227 of the Criminal Procedural Code, has the undoubted power to sift and weigh the evidence for the purpose of finding out whether or not a prima facie case against the accused has been made out. Court stated that the statement of the witness recorded under Section 164 of the Code was not substantive evidence, and though it can be used only to corroborate or contradict that witness, the fact remained that the applicant was the owner of Ahmedabad Express newspapers. It was further added that undisputedly, Mr. Bhill was his employee. If that be so, it was inconceivable that Mr. Bhill would open two bank accounts, one in the name of Ahmedabad Sales Corporation and another Hindustan Enterprise, and would receive lakhs and crores of rupees soon after the account were opened. Therefore, in the view of the facts of the present matter, there was no reason to discard and disbelieve the statements of Mr. Bhill, which indeed disclosed applicant's complicity in the crime. Hence, the revision application was rejected. In the case of Kalpesh Jairam Poshti versus Central Bureau of Investigation, Criminal Revision Application number 6 of 2020, decided on 6 December 2021.
Thank you, Sampada. Now, what Sampada has read, if you go through the same piece of evidence, I will show you some of these sections here. I would request all of you to note down. This was not a plain reading. See, the Central Bureau of Investigation registered an FIR under section 120B. Okay, 120B is about the षड्यंत्र, that is conspiracy. Read with section, see, 120B, read with 420, 465, 420 is about cheating, 465, 467 relates to the forgery, 468, 471 of IPC. Now, next we go to the statement of Ravi Kumar Bhill recorded under section 169 and 164 of the CRPC would disclose the sad fact. Now, you should read these sections. Note down these sections if you have time. I have a video also under 164. Vandana, please share that video today. Statement of Ganesh Mokkal. Now, there was one more this. Settled law. The judge, while considering the question of framing the charges under section 220 of Criminal Procedure Code, there was a writ petition under section 227. There was a discharge application which was rejected. Now, this is also again very important. You should read what is section 227 of the Criminal Procedure Code. The judge, while considering the question of framing the charge under section 220 of CRPC, has the undoubted power to sift and weigh the evidence for a limited purpose. So, whenever we read, note down some of these. These are important section, and this will be your regular practice, which will be useful to you. Now, next we go to very important part of the matrimonial disputes. Whenever a client comes to you, we do not know where to go and file the case. Sometimes client is from Thane and her matrimonial home it is Mumbai. Husband is residing at Delhi. So you have no idea where to file the case. Now here comes the point of jurisdiction. Now we will go through section 19 of the Hindu Marriage Act. Let's read it. What does it say? And more or less, whether you go to Special Marriage Act or other sections also, other acts also, you will find the same jurisdiction. Section 19 in the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. every petitioner under this act shall be presented to district court within the local limits of whose ordinary original civil jurisdiction. Now, so it is a civil jurisdiction where the marriage was solemnized, where the marriage has taken place. The next is the respondent, that is the opposite party, at the time of presentation of the petition resides. See, first one is very easy to understand, where the marriage was solemnized. Now, respondent, the second part is very difficult to understand. Respondent at the time of presentation of the petition resides. Nobody uses this second part. Suppose I am staying at Mumbai. My client is from Delhi. And the opposite party against whom I have to file a case is also in Mumbai. I can suggest my client that you can file the petition before the Mumbai because your husband resides here or because the wife resides here, even if I am for the husband, either of them. The next, the party to the marriage last resided together. There is a possibility that this couple may be a nuclear family residing on the rent agreements. So they may have changed few of the houses. So where the parties to the marriage last resided, that place will also have a jurisdiction. Now there is one more jurisdiction available to the wife, that is a lady. In case the wife is the petitioner, where she is residing on the date of presentation of the petition. Now, sometimes the people say, why she is given extra this jurisdiction? I will tell you why. If there is a dispute between husband and wife, the wife goes to her mother's home or to sister's home or any of the relatives' home. And if she goes there, even if all the three parts, about three points, they don't give her jurisdiction, then this is the one point which will come to her help. So the wife has got extra jurisdiction. Now next is fourth one. The petitioner is residing at the time of presentation of the petition in a case where the respondent is at that time residing outside the territories to which this act extends or has not been heard of as being alive for a period of 7 years or more by those persons who would naturally have heard of him if he were alive. There is a possibility that the client comes to after a long time and she has been residing at a place where marriage was also not solemnized, they have not last resided, but she may have lodged a police complaint that her husband she is unable to trace the husband. Now this police complaint should be of the last 7 years. If it is recorded in 2001, then in 2008 she can file. That is after the completion of the 7 years. And for that record of 7 years, she has to get that police. There is a certificate issued by the police which says that for the last 7 years, this person is not traceable and possibly he may not be alive. And with that certificate, you can file the divorce petition or whatever petition or case you want to file before the court. So this was all about jurisdiction. It is very easy, but if you complicated sometime when we go and apply for practical. But if you read the section complete, section 19 of the Hindu marriage, it gives widely like exhaustive explanation to you. Now next, I'll be reading on the custodial torture. This is also something very interesting. This is from Patna High Court. This is pronounced by Justice Badar, A.M. Badar. He is from Maharashtra. I've appeared before him in the Bombay High Court. He's got a very good understanding of the criminal matters. That's what I have noticed, and I have liked all his judgments, in fact, on the criminal side. Now, the custodial torture, Patna High Court. Sorry state of affair. High Court slams police for using third-degree torture to extract confession. This is Patna High Court. I had been to Patna High Court once. Very beautiful court and very clean. If anybody from Bihar or anybody has a homeland there or native place, please do visit. One of the things you all can do, that try to visit the high courts of your native place. It will, in fact, you can make some networking also there, and you will be happy to see the high courts. Patna High Court, A.M. Badar Justice. granted bail to the person arrested on the basis of forcefully extracted confession made during police custody. Expressing dismay मतलब निराशा over the audacity of the SHO. SHO station house officer. See, when you read, you will know. Here we have senior inspector, but there it may be a village or station house officer to resort to third degree treatment to extract confession and mentioning the same in the FIR. The bench reminded the officials concerned that the accused to have basic human rights and that should be protected at all costs. Now, whenever client comes to you, अगर उनका कोई कस्टडी में ले गया तो वो पूछते हैं उनको मारेंगे पीटेंगे क्या. So this judgment is going to be useful to you. Police has no right to take out any confession or beat up our clients. The applicant had approached the court for seeking bail in connection with offence punishable under section 30A as well as 41 of Bihar Prohibition Excise Act 2016. That is their local act, as you can make out from name, Bihar Prohibition Excise Act 2016. As he was allegedly in possession of about 835 liters of, it will not be possession of about 835 liters of illicit liquor. The applicant had fairly stated that he has one criminal antecedent. See, when you make a bail application, it's better to say that I have one old case against me. Here, he said while making a bail, normally we write there is no criminal antecedent. मतलब मेरा कोई पुराना case नहीं है. But here, applicant had fairly stated that he has one criminal antecedent. The applicant contended that there was no iota of evidence against the applicant except confessional statement of the co-accused made in the FIR 2 police station. Now see, there is no iota of evidence. मतलब इतना सा भी evidence नहीं है, except कि co-accused मतलब दूसरा जो आरोपी है उसने बोला कि ये भी मेरे साथ था. The bench noticed that the FIR itself reflected sorry state of affairs in handling human rights by Bihar police, as the SHO had claimed that in raid effected on the basis of secret information, he apprehended the man accused, one Rajan Singh, from the spot of the incident, and from his premises, 835 liters of illicit liquor came to be seized. The bench expressed, what hurts this court after perusal of the FIR is recital in the FIR made by Prashant Kumar, station house officer, to the effect that after taking over custody of main accused Rajan Singh, he had said Rajan Singh to third degree treatment, made strict interrogation from him by using force. See, station house officer ने FIR में लिख दिया था कि मैंने third degree use किया. That hurts the court. In fact, it is not allowed. Noticeably, recitals in the FIR suggest that the main accused was subjected to torture, not while apprehending him, but after taking his custody. The bench stated that this is a matter of serious concern which requires cognizance by none else than the Director General of Police, that is DG of the Police, Director General, Bihar State, in the light of observations of the Supreme Court in Pattern of Judgment. और मोस्टली वो डीके बासु का जजमेंट बोला जाएगा जो भी आपको आप पढ़ोगे भी. Opining that the lesser said would be better in the instant case. The bench referred to the case of DK Basu versus State of West Bengal, 1997, 1 SCC 416. DK Basu versus State of Bengal, जैसे Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar, is a big judgment which speaks about how they arrest and the arrest के बाद accused के rights क्या, arrest के पहले rights क्या. DK Basu is also same about the guidelines about the arrest. It's a very old judgment, 1997, wherein the Supreme Court have observed, experience shows that worse violation of human rights takes place during the course of investigation, when the police, with a view to secure evidence or confession, often resorts to third degree methods, including torture, and adopts techniques of screening arrests by either not recording the arrest or describing the deprivation of liberty merely as a prolonged interrogation, to remind the officials concerned of the human rights of the accused in custody of police. Since the FIR suggested that after using full force, confession of main accused came to be extracted by the SHO, who had audacity to narrate the same in the FIR itself, the bench rejected the confession as sections 24, 25, and 26 of Evidence Act makes it clear that confession by an accused to police is of no consequences and cannot even be looked out by the court. See, section 24, 25, and 26 Evidence Act क्या कहता है? Confession by the accused before the police is of no consequences and it cannot even be looked by the court. तो पुलिस के सामने जो कन्फेशन होता है, कई बार क्लाइंट बोलते हैं पुलिस ने जबरदस्ती लिखवा दिया या कन्फेशन ले लिया, तो इट इज ऑफ नो यूज, टेल देम इट इज ऑफ नो यूज, डोंट वरी. Similarly, at them also corroborative evidence हो सकता है, but that we'll see in the later part in near future. Similarly, except the Ali's confession, there was nothing to infer complicity of the applicant, as nothing had been recovered from him. Expressing dismay over the inhumane and unlawful actions of the police, the bench remarked, giving third-degree treatment to the apprehended accused, and that too for extracting confession, is the worst crime in a civilized society which can be committed by a police officer, and that is how the judiciary is witnessing large number of custodial deaths caused by a man in uniform. Considering the nature of the evidence against the applicant, the bench opined that there was no other alternative but to release him on bail during pendency of the trial. Accordingly, the application was allowed and the applicant was directed to be released on bail on executing a bond of rupees 15,000. This is judgment of Sanjay Singh versus State of Bihar. It is from the Patna High Court. So this was all about today. Anybody wants to ask any questions, they can ask. You can unmute yourself now.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, for example, a woman files a case of domestic violence and the judgment is already delivered. I
Yes.
mean that case is already dismissed in the past. So
Okay.
can she file the case again? I mean, is there any judgment or provision which was given so that she can file the dismissed case again?
See, if it is dismissed, she has a right to appeal, right? She can go in appeal. Your question is that her case is dismissed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then she can go in appeal.
So, ma'am, is there any judgment which was given in which, like,
See, she has a right to appeal till up to Supreme Court, right?
and ma'am, are there any grounds on which the appeal can be dismissed?
See, appeal can be dismissed, but how do you say that appeal will be dismissed? There may be some reason. Unless and until the judgment is before us, we won't be able to comment. But she has a right to appeal, right? And if it is a DV matter, it's a domestic violence case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So Saturday you were present in the lecture session?
Yes, ma'am.
So look into section 29 of the DV Act.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
मॅम एक प्रश्न होता.
हा बोला.
मॅम आता आपण जे काही सेक्शन 19चा जो ज्युरिडिक्शनचा मुद्दा घेतला, जो मॅरेज ऍक्टचा, हिंदू मॅरेज ऍक्टचा, तर त्याच्यात असं आहे की जर समजा मुंबईची ज्युरिडिक्शनच्या बाबतीत जे लग्न झालं, म्हणजे पुण्याला ओळख झाली आणि बेंगलोरला लग्न झालं, बेंगलोरला, आणि त्याच्या पत्नीच्या नोकरी संदर्भात त्यांची परत बदली झाली मुंबईला, आणि मूळची ती रहिवाशी होती समजा औरंगाबादची. मग ती औरंगाबादला जर समजा त्यांचं सगळं जे काही डोमेस्टिक व्हायलन्स झाला किंवा काय जे त्यांचं वाटेवर जे काही घटना घडल्यात त्या मुंबई, पुणे आणि बेंगलोर या ठिकाणी घडल्या, आणि तिनं आता सोमोटो डायव्हर्स पिटिशन क्रुएल्टीच्या ग्राउंडवर औरंगाबादला टाकलं.
तिला आहे ना अधिकार आहे ना, हिंदू मॅरेज ऍक्ट बघा.
हो ना.
डीव्ही ऍक्ट ची पण ज्युरिडिक्शन बघा, डीव्ही ऍक्टचं पण ज्युरिडिक्शन बघा आणि हिंदू मॅरेज ऍक्टचं पण बघा. तिला अधिकार आहे.
नाही, पण आता ती ऍट द टाइम ऑफ प्रेझेंटेशन ती जिथं राहते त्या ग्राउंडवर तिनं घेतलं, ठीक आहे. ती औरंगाबादला तिनं दाखल केलं प्रकरण. पण आता मुद्दा असा आहे की औरंगाबादला येत असताना तिनं तिच्या पिटिशन मध्ये असं कुठं म्हटलं नाही की आमचे जे काही मॅट्रिमोनियल वाद झाले.
ऐका आपण इथे ना, तिची पिटिशन माझ्या समोर नाही, मी तसं डिस्कस नाही करू शकत. पण ह्या ज्युरिडिक्शन मध्ये नाही, हा आहे ना कुठल्या तरी क्लायंटचा आपण प्रश्न हे करतोय, आपण कोणाचा पर्सनल क्वेश्चन घेऊया. ऐका असं पर्सनल क्वेश्चन फोरमवर बरोबर नाही. तुम्हाला काय असं सेक्शन 19 बघा आणि डीव्ही ऍक्ट मध्ये पण ज्युरिडिक्शन बघा, तुम्हाला मिळेल त्यात तुमचं उत्तर.
नाही, जनरल पण जर समजा झालंय, समजा आफ्रिका आहे आणि तिकडं जे काही त्यांचे मुद्दे झाले ते मॅट्रिमोनियल डिस्प्यूट बाहेर झाले, आउट ऑफ झाले, आणि त्यांना त्या पिटिशन मध्ये जर तसं मांडलं नाही, मांडणं गरजेचं आहे का?
पण आपण पिटिशन बघितलीच नाही, मी बोलू नाही शकत ना असं. आपण पिटिशन बघितलं जेव्हा पर्सनल कोणाचं तरी तुम्ही मॅटर सांगताय मला, तसं मी उत्तर नाही देत नाही. मला नाही ऐकायचं. तुम्ही मला नंतर पाहिजे फोन करा, याच्या फोरमवर कोणाचं पर्सनल मॅटर डिस्कस नका करू. तुम्ही नावं पण घेताय, औरंगाबाद, बँगलोर. हा, ठीक आहे.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask something.
Yes.
Ma'am, on what circumstances statement given to the police would be considerable in court?
See, statement given to the police is only for corroborative purpose. Police has no right, they will only record it. It can be corroborated or to contradict. I have a playlist of the cross examination, which is too premature for people who have just passed out. Do go through that and see section 164 of the CRPC. In fact, you should start from 160 CRPC. Read that chapter of the CRPC.
Okay,
We'll take in future.
Thank
it's a
you.
good question, but too premature. See, whatever the statement given to the police can be only corroborated, or for contradictory purpose only you can use it. Whatever you are saying before the court, जब trial चलता है, that will be useful. तो उसको और उसको आप compare कर सकते हैं कि पुलिस के सामने आपने ये नहीं बोला था statement में, आपने कोर्ट में बोला है. So whatever is given deposition before the court will be useful to you.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, can I ask?